What is going on, everybody? Guys, welcome to episode number 1 of the Underdogs Podcast. My name is Jordan Stupar. I will be your host from here on out. And guys, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Anybody that's listening to this, I know I've been wanting to do this literally for years, and it's been on my heart to do it, and I just haven't really felt like I was ready, or I was busy making excuses, or I just got too busy. And this is just something that I really want to do. But the first thing that I want to get out of the way here on episode 1 is 2 things. Number 1 is, Jordan, why on earth? Why would you do a podcast? Bro, you do so much other content on all the other social media platforms. You're constantly doing content. Your business is content-based right now. Why? Why another form of content, especially long format audio experiences like Underdogs Podcast? Well, the first reason, obviously, that I'm doing this is because I personally love podcasts. I'm constantly searching for new information, new stories, new speakers, authors, people that have information and stories that I can use and apply to my own life to experience more success, which I will actually get around to here in a moment, talking about success for me and why I care about it. And then also, obviously, podcasts, because this is a great platform for me to just be transparent, be truthful, be honest, be authentic about what it really takes to get from point A to point Z. Where are you trying to get to? What are some of the challenges, adversity, issues, problems, pain points, stress, anxiety, frustrations from point A to point Z? This is going to be the format in which I'm able to actually share some of those stories, not only personally for myself, and obviously there'll be plenty of episodes where it'll just be me, a microphone sitting here in my office here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, talking about stuff. But also, this is a great platform for me to actually bring on some of my friends, some of the people that I end up meeting, some of the people I have met that maybe don't have the blue check mark or a huge following or a big personal brand, but have experienced success in their lives, whether that's winning a championship back in high school and kind of what it took to get there, or that millionaire next door that you don't know is wealthy or successful. What are their stories? What is a normal person, the underdogs out there? What is their story? How did they get to where they are today? What are some of the challenges that people have gone through? I think this is a great platform to provide those types of stories, because if you're anything like me, if you're involved with business and sales and entrepreneurship, those are the things I care a great deal about in my life. I know that I don't always pull business inspiration from business people. Sometimes I pull a lot of inspiration about discipline, about commitment, about work ethic from athletes like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or whatever. And so again, this is just going to be something that obviously is a business and sales and entrepreneurship centric podcast, with, of course, a lot of stories from your underdogs out there that have made something of themselves and in their life. So that's why I can't wait to do this podcast. And again, I appreciate you for joining. And obviously, of course, if you are enjoying this already and I haven't even gotten to the good stuff, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and always, always, always consider sharing this with a friend, a family member, a business associate, somebody who you think might be able to get some value from these episodes. The last thing that I want to address before I dig into today's first topic on episode 1 is, why underdogs? Well, I've been mulling over the idea of starting a sales podcast because I have a business called Stupar Sales Academy, where I do consulting and sales training and consulting for businesses and individuals. So why not talk about sales, Jordan? That's what you really love. Well, I would do that, but it doesn't hit my soul like some of the other things. Being a salesperson, some of the struggles and daily battles that I go through in order to grow my business or to become a top salesperson at some of my last jobs. And so, no, I don't really necessarily only want to talk about sales, and I don't only want to talk about business. I want to talk about the things that transcend business and sales and entrepreneurship. So I'm just going to I'm going to dig right in, because I know that we're all rooting for the underdogs, and I'm just excited to get to this topic right here, because As always, this is something that I believe totally transcends business, and I think it'll help anybody that's listening to this. And so the today's topic, the title of this thing that I've been wanting to talk about is something that I've been really careful not to talk about over the course of the last couple of years with people that I meet or people on social media or whatever. And what I want to talk about is, my dark, quiet, and dangerous alter ego. For those of you that have met me, maybe you've been to one of my events, or you at least follow me on social media, or we've come across each other in an airport or a mall or shopping center or something, you're probably going to walk away from the interaction with Jordan Stupar feeling as though Jordan Stupar is high energy and enthusiastic and positive and friendly and a good communicator and hopefully a good listener. I want you to leave the interaction with me feeling like, oh, this is a cool person. This is a friendly person. This is somebody I would maybe consider doing business with or follow or whatever. I want you to take that away as a first impression or whatever. And the thing that you guys will never see is what I'm going to talk about today on this podcast. And that is that dark, quiet, dangerous alter ego that never really sees the light of day. And what I mean by that is, I think the best example I can give you of what I mean is back from, playing soccer as a kid and throughout high school and college, is I'm hyper competitive. I was very good at soccer. I was the MVP of my college team when we won state that year. And I've just always excelled on a soccer field because it's something that obviously I've put a lot of time and practice into, along with obviously some talents and some natural gifts that I got from God. But at the end of the day, I should say at the beginning of the day, I'll shake your hand before the game and I'll wish you good luck. And I'll be, the normal friendly person that it is that I would probably want you to think of me as when thinking about me. But I'll shake your hand before the soccer game. But at the exact same time, the only thing that I'm picturing is you going home, crying to your mom and dad, your girlfriend, whatever, and just literally feeling the pain of losing. I'm the type of guy that's probably going to be thinking about how I can ride that fine line between like being a dirty player and like elbowing you in the ribs while we're running down the field and not hitting you in the ribs, because I'm not a dirty player, never have been a dirty player. But that doesn't mean that I'm not thinking of ways that I can destroy you, take advantage of you, and beat you. And the reason why I am that way, because I've always been that way. When I'm in sales, I have to be at the top of the board. When it comes to income, I have to be the highest earner. When it comes to pulling up in a car, I have to have the car that people are like, whoa, man, that's a cool car. When it comes to lifting weights, right, I have to be able to lift the most. When I'm running, I have to run the fastest or the longest distance. And although I never really truly am the best at everything that I do, because that would be impossible, I still require myself to be the best and to absolutely come off as a champion, as a winner, as somebody that is doing extremely well in life. And quite frankly, this has put a ton of pressure on me in my life, caused a lot of stress, anxiety, because that's one hell of a way to live life, being the best at everything. How on earth is that possible? Well, it's really not. But it doesn't stop me from feeling this like burning desire to be the best and to be a champion and to be a winner. And that's because I'm a 3. And I know that means nothing to you right now without any context, so let me give you some context. A couple months ago, maybe about a year ago or so, my family introduced me to this thing called the Enneagram. And I'm no expert on that. I'm not going to give you guys any like real education on what that is, what it means for you, or be able to describe all of the things that it entails, because it is a lot. But I've always wondered, why do I have this like dark, like dangerous alter ego? Why am I always constantly trash talking in the top of my head or in the back of my head while I'm, shaking somebody else's hand? And it's because I am a 3. And basically what it means, and by the way, if you're interested in taking this test, it doesn't cost anything. It takes a couple minutes of your time. You can probably just go to Google, go to Enneagram test or whatever, and you can take it to figure out what you are. Basically, there's 9 different types of personality indexes or, personality types. And basically who you are is a number, and it goes from 1 through 9. I don't know what they all are, what they all mean, but I have done enough research on myself, and I'm actually on the EnneagramInstitute.com. And I'm going to give you a brief description here of what a 3 is. And what a 3 is, quote, "Threes are self-assured, attractive, and charming. Ambitious, competent, and energetic, they can also be status conscious and highly driven for advancement. They're diplomatic and poised, but can also be overly concerned with their image and what others think of them. They typically have problems with workaholism and competitiveness." And I want to highlight that they said typically have problems with workaholism and competitiveness, and I'll get to that in a second. At their best, 3s are self-accepting, authentic, everything. They seem to be role models that inspire others. Our basic fear as a 3 is being worthless. Our basic desire is to feel valuable and worthwhile. And so, real quick, too, as well, I want to list off that a 3's key motivations are want to be affirmed, have to distinguish themselves from others, to have attention, to be admired, and to impress others. So basically, what they're saying there, and there's quite a bit more to read here. I mean, literally, there's chapters and chapters about these different personality types. But basically, the way that I feel about reading that, and obviously everything I've read about being a 3, is that I, Jordan Stupar, I pull my own self-worth, my own self-fulfillment, my own happiness based specifically on how other people perceive me. So again, if I'm driving a just junker of a car that's like rust bucket, like slow, not fancy, not classy, not sophisticated, not, modern, not new, not at the top of the food chain, I'm going to feel miserable sitting in traffic, not because I'm driving a rust bucket that's a piece of garbage car, but because I know that you're going to look at my car and make a judgment call based on the car that I'm driving, and that is how I will take my own personal happiness. So can Jordan Stupar be happy in a barely running and driving 1988 Toyota Corolla? No, I can't be happy in it. Even if it was brand new, 0 miles, and came with a warranty, it's also like 30-something years old. I'm not going to feel comfortable in that car because, again, you're going to be looking at me and I'm going to be like, whoa, this I look like garbage because I'm in this bad car, and you're going to make a judgment off of me on that, and I'm going to feel terrible about myself. And so, if I'm talking to a business owner and I'm like, yo, man, my business is doing $1 million a year, and they're like, yeah, my business is doing $1.1 million a year, I'm going to feel completely worthless because I'm coming in second place or, not doing as well as somebody else. And I'm not the most successful person in the room. And I'm not the person that's doing the best with their business. And I'm not the most knowledgeable person about getting to the next level. And so those are ways that I'm negative about my own self because I care so much about what other people think about me being a winner, being a champion, right? So just some quick personal stories. Maybe some of you out there can relate. When I started playing soccer, I didn't end up playing football, soccer, baseball, swimming, and, hockey. I played soccer, and soccer was my identity because I knew that if I split up my time across multiple sports, although I've always been an athlete and always pretty much excelled at, the athletic things that I do, I knew that if I put all of my eggs in one basket with soccer, I could be the top performer. I could be the elite competitor that I wanted to be so that I could beat people. And so I put all my eggs in one basket, became very good at soccer, and I stayed the hell off of a baseball field or a football field in a basketball court, mainly because I was short. I learned that in 8th grade the hard way, felt miserable, and then really committed into soccer. But I wanted to play soccer because it was the thing that I was best at, and it was the place where I could really excel and showcase my skills and feel, in turn, for being a high performer, that people cared about my performance and that I did well. And so, when I was the MVP of my soccer team in college that won state, I felt like a winner. I felt like a boss, and I was actually happy. When I was losing and my team didn't do well, I felt horrible, even if I was the top performer because my team didn't win. And so those are the things that happen in my life as a 3. With that being said, being a 3 is a very anxious and stressful life because, of course, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How do I look? How do I appear? How am I coming off? Am I successful enough? What does that person think about my shirt? Do I have a stain on my shirt? Is my shirt wrinkled? Does my outfit look okay? These are all things that I take into consideration hundreds, if not thousands of times per day, and I find it pretty annoying. When it comes to starting a business, when it comes to doing something on social media, when it comes to making a video or an image or a quote or whatever, or a caption, I'm always thinking, what are other people going to think about this? Am I going to look good enough? Am I successful enough? Is that image high quality enough? Is that the best angle? Is this the best way to do things? Is that the best video? Is the edit good? Is the music good? Is this something that people are going to care about? And it eats me alive, honestly. And so what I often do, the person that you're not seeing when you're hanging out with me or seeing me on social media or whatever, is I climb back into this dark, quiet, like dangerous, competitive, dark hole. And I sit there and I practice and I sweat and I bleed and I cry and I try to get as good as I can at my craft so that the next time I crawl out of this hole to compete or to perform, I can do it at levels that are just completely non-expected and that I can beat my competitors at that game, whatever game that is. And so oftentimes in my life, I don't do things that I actually want to do. Like, for instance, I'd love to be good at chess. But I know that if I go out and play chess for the first couple of times, I'm not going to be very good at it. People are going to, kick my ass and I'm going to feel miserable about my whole life because I didn't win at chess. It's the same thing that happened last week. I went golfing with a friend of mine who golfs, 3 to 5 times a week. Guy has his own set of clubs. I don't even own clubs. I go maybe once a month on a good month. And I knew that he was going to beat me in 18 holes. I knew it. But I felt like garbage after he beat me. Like, I literally went home in a bad mood. I didn't, necessarily even enjoy the golf game because I got my ass handed to me. And so that's a little bit of what it's like to be a 3, because again, I take all my own self-value off of the perceived value of you looking at me do what I do. And so the point that I want to really get to on this is a little bit less about my dark, quiet, and dangerous alter ego, that hyper-competitive, low down and dirty, dark, like, competitor, and a little bit more about how this affects everybody else. Because I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't do the things that they actually want to do, whether that's quitting a job and starting a business, whether that's getting off the couch and losing weight, whether that's, hey, I've never even tried to lose weight, but now I kind of feel like it, but I don't want to go to the gym because people are going to judge me because I have no idea what I'm doing. And so there's so many different things out there that we all want to do, whether that's, fun stuff like going skydiving. Maybe you've never done it before and you're terrified because you don't know what to do. Maybe you want to start a business, but you don't know what to do, and you care a great deal about how other people are going to perceive you or look at you when you actually do it. And so as a person that literally, I can't get dressed in the morning without thinking about what other people at the grocery store are going to think of me when they see me in aisle 6. Take it from somebody that it cares a great deal every time they get in their car. Dude, is my car clean enough? I drive a Porsche. Does this thing look clean? Does it look good? Are other people going to say, oh man, he let himself go, this car is dirty? And so take it from somebody that has hundreds, if not thousands, of these considerations daily for you out there. Maybe you're not a 3, maybe you're a 9 or a 1 or a 5 or whatever. You take the test and you're like, okay, winning and success, it would be cool, but like, I don't need it because I don't get fulfilled based on how other people look at me. Well, at the end of the day, there's going to be a million things that you're not going to end up doing in your life because of the consideration of what other people might think of you when they see you do it. And this is a perfect topic for episode 1, because here I am in my office. I've got my microphone set up. I've got my GoPro set up. I've got a light set up. I've got GarageBand recording this whole thing. I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to editing a podcast. I've never done it before. I don't have an account for like Stitchers or iTunes or Spotify or any of these, audio experience platforms. I don't have anything hooked up. I don't know what I'm doing. And so one of the other reasons, outside of the fact that I've just been super busy and have been really kind of trying to accumulate and like mature my voice, if you will, not what you're hearing, but like, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? Is the fact that I don't know what I'm doing with the podcast. And also, by the way, dude, if I do a great podcast, is it going to be great enough that other people are going to want to listen to this? Is this going to be something that I can see at the top of, business podcasts? Is this going to be something that can really make a run? Is this really going to be popular? Is it actually going to be good? Because if it's not going to be, I'm not going to waste my time doing this thing, because I'm going to feel miserable looking at my podcast after 2 years and still have 23 listeners. Like, that would be not only, embarrassing for me, but that would literally rob me of happiness. I don't find a lot of joy in just sitting here and talking. I would find a ton of joy if I was the number one podcast in the world, because that's what I have to strive for. It's in my genes, it's in my DNA and my genetic makeup. And so the point that I want to get to is, for all of you out there that are thinking about doing something else with your life, or doing something in addition to what you're doing in your life, or quitting that job, or breaking up with that person, or going and asking that one person out on a date, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, don't let the fear of what other people are going to think of you hold you back from doing the thing that you actually want to do. And that's one thing, honestly, I've never had a problem with. I've never had a problem saying, hey, I'm going to pick up the guitar and I'm going to be the best guitar player in my high school so I can impress a bunch of girls. That was the number one reason why I picked up a guitar, was to impress girls in high school, because they weren't impressed enough that I was really good at soccer. I went to a smaller school, and so there wasn't, the stands weren't filled with girls. We didn't have a cheerleading team or whatever. I didn't have a way of using my ability to play soccer really well to get dates in high school. And so I picked up the acoustic guitar because I figured, that would be the best way to do it. And I ended up becoming really good at guitar because I sacrificed everything else that I was doing every single night. I'd get home at 5:30, eat a Jack's Pizza, and I would play guitar from 5:30 until midnight or 1 o'clock every single night until I got good at it. And then I wrote some songs and I had some fun with that. And now, it's something that I enjoy doing because I don't have to think about what I'm doing. And you guys may listen to me play guitar and you'd be like impressed or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'd picked up the guitar, but there was no point in playing just to play. It wasn't like, oh, dude, I really just enjoy it for myself. I can do this every day in my basement just for me. No, the goal for me was to be dark, quiet, dangerous alter ego, sitting in the basement, letting my fingers bleed, getting calluses, trying to figure out chord progressions and chord structure and so on and so forth, so that when I did perform and I knew somebody was going to listen, it was going to be less about their musical experience or the fact that they really enjoyed that song, but they needed to be blown away by how good I performed it, or how well it was written, or how, differently I was able to do this specific song or whatever. And that for me would be success. And so it can't be just, hey, that was a really good song. That doesn't fill me up. In fact, that infuriates me if you don't have an over-the-top reaction, because I'm not striving for, hey, I'm just here to, do what I like to do, and yeah, you can listen. It's, I'm going to do this so that I can blow you away, so that you can be really impressed with me. And so that's what I did. And for the rest of you out there, I want to let you know that it's okay to suck. It's okay to start something and not be very good at it. It's okay to go dig into that dark hole that it is that you need to be in to practice and get the skills that you need, so that when it is time to go out and perform, you maybe aren't performing so that other people can be blown away by me, but maybe you need to go out and perform so that you can have a sense of security when you go out and do it. But don't let your insecurities get in the way of starting what it is that you want to start. I've started a lot of businesses. I've started doing my own video editing, and I, posted them out. And people watched them and they weren't blown away by the video content or by my message or by anything. And I knew that. And yes, that hurt me. And yes, it cost me sleep and it cost me a lot of my attention. How can I make a better video? How can I have a better message? How can I entertain people? How can I do something that gets a lot of attention? I need a lot of views. I need a lot of likes. This is how I actually measure my own happiness, is by how other people perceive what it is that I do. And so I'm constantly in my dark, dangerous, quiet hole, constantly working on my craft. I can't tell you how many hundreds, if not thousands of videos I've personally edited and never, ever published anywhere, because they were for practice. They didn't pass the litmus test of holy F, this is amazing. I need to publish this. This is going to help change somebody's life or be really impressive. And so I sit in my black hole and I climb out only to perform. Only to perform. And so the whole point of this podcast, the whole point of this little episode is get started doing what it is that you need to do and do it from your own dark, dangerous, alter ego black hole. Not everything that you have to do has to be great. It's not going to be great, especially if you're just getting started. This podcast might suck. Content quality or production quality might suck. I'm doing it all myself. I don't have an editor. I don't know how to set up my iTunes account and the RSS feed and all this other BS that I've been reading about. I don't know how to do any of it, but it's not going to stop me from actually doing it. Now, I'll have you know that until I record the next podcast, I'm going to be fixated on the topic, on the flow, on the structure. I'm probably going to be listening to this one back, 15 times to figure out, dude, that part sucked, or that part is like, people aren't going to like that part or whatever. And so I just am constantly going to be tweaking things and making adjustments and thinking about how I can make this better. Because again, I don't see any point in doing this whole thing if there's only going to be 23 listeners here in the next 2 years. I care a great deal about being number one in this thing, and that is what I need to have happen. In order for me to have a successful podcast, I would need to be number one. And that's where we're headed. And so, again, the whole message before we sign off here, before I jump back on the phones here and grow my business, is go out there and start something. Don't let what other people think about you hinder the opportunity that you have every single day to get a little bit better in your dark hole. Climb back into your dark hole, focus in on what you can focus in on, and just know that every single thing that you do in your dark hole, preparing, training, practicing, is going to prepare you for when you climb out of it so that you can beat your competitors. And I promise you, that whole workaholism and competitiveness are probably personal problems for me. They definitely take up time and attention that I could spend on other things that I maybe pull enjoyment out of. But at the end of the day, if I'm not number one in doing what I'm doing, then I don't even think that people are going to want to hang out with me anyway, because I'm not a winner. So even if you're not a winner, even if you're not super impressive, even if you're not the best at what you do, it shouldn't stop you from going out and becoming the best at what you do. And it shouldn't stop you from starting doing what it is that you want to do. And that's my message. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Underdogs Podcast, episode number 1. We're getting started over here. And of course, with your guys' help and feedback and suggestions, comments, shares, likes, whatever, obviously those things do make me feel good, but I can't improve. I can't get this thing better without your guys' feedback. So keep listening. If you enjoyed this, please pass it along to somebody else that might be able to pull some value out of this. And of course, do the thing that it is that you would do if you were going to subscribe to this, whether you're on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, wherever. Make sure you subscribe to this, put it on some notifications, and I will see you next time. Guys, it's been real. Thank you so much for listening to the Underdogs Podcast.